like an hour and a half. Okay, folks, we are on the air for the first official show, and I am very honored to have 5 viewers aside from me. Laura, Laura has no mic or cam, so she'll be contributing on the chat section. I will be monitoring. Mark Christopher is going to help me monitor the chat section while I monitor the Q&A section. And it says the feature is disabled. I'm not liking this. How the heck do I? That's not going to help. Why is the feature disabled? I need it enabled.
Charles, is it in the control room?
Let me check. Well, the control room just gives me the option of turning on or off people's mics, cameras, and their volume levels. But there's a Q&A tab that I'm supposed to be able to click on and see the questions, but for some reason it's disabled. It wasn't during the first broadcast. And for anybody watching, this is, I know this looks unorganized, but this has never happened before. The feature is not supposed to be disabled. So if you are viewing, I will try to get to, my wife is trying to get to that page. This is my wife, Karen, by the way.
Hi.
Any of y'all are welcome to have your spouse, boyfriend, or girlfriend view.
I don't know if my sound works.
I don't know if his mic or his camera is working yet. I don't know why the bloody question and answer thing is not working. If you're not getting any feedback from the Q&A section, it's because it's disabled for me, but go to where the show is being broadcast live, and hopefully you'll be able to ask questions there. My wife can see those.
In a minute.
In a minute. In the meantime, we'll go down the line. Left to right on screen for me is Sherry Lee Epler, Gary Gilbert, Hans, I forgot his last name. It's a German last name. We have Laura Meyer, and we have Mark Christopher. Sherry, if you'll tell everybody about yourself and how they can find you on social networks.
Me?
Yep.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, I didn't know if it was working or not. I've been scrolling for about 10 years now, and just now getting into pattern designing, and like I am this time every year, I'm constantly busy. And not just with my scroll work. I've got 3 horses I take care of, and I've got my mother I take care of, and my husband's a local truck driver.
Awesome. Awesome. And your husband is one Epler, and he's your soulmate. I know that. Been around for quite a while.
Yep.
I'm sorry if that was a private thing. I probably shouldn't have announced that if you didn't want that announced. But
that's fine. I mean, I always say it. I always say it.
It's always good to see a happy marriage. That's why I encourage people to have their spouse or life partner beside them, because this is a very laid back show. It'll have some structure to it. Next in line, since Gary was here first, Gary, if you want to tell people what you do and what made you want to join the show, and any way they can catch you on social networks. Make sure you unmute yourself.
Yeah, and I hit the wrong button. Gary Gilbert, I'm in upstate New York. I am pretty much a graphic artist, 3D artist, industrial designer for furniture and other things. I guess I found this group because I was part of another group that was going on the other night, and I kind of was helping a lot of people out with ideas with graphics layouts, and me and Charles were talking about ways of keeping people from stealing your ideas, of vice versa. As of right now, all I have is my standard Facebook profile. I no longer have a website, and Google Plus page is really the only way to find me, other than on Facebook.
Okay, after the show, I will ask that everybody, once the show is posted to YouTube. Everybody on this panel, I encourage you to put your social media links in the comment section of the video. John, you're not that late, but I'm going to go in order of people that came in. Hans, do you have a way to talk to us with either mic or camera? If not, you can type in the chat section. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to respond. Okay, your microphone thing went away, so maybe you're having technical. Test, test, test. Can you talk? If not, Hans, go to the left side. Your cursor will make a black bar show. Go to the very top, and there's a blue thing with white lines in it. Click on that, and it'll allow you to type, and we'll see it in the chat section. If you have any questions, if you're having no camera, no mic. But I know John Schaffner has a cam and a mic, so John, why don't you tell everybody about yourself and how they can find you on social media and what your niche is.
I do indeed have a mic tonight. My name is John Schaffner. I've been woodworking for 40 years or so. I don't have a website. I don't have any kind of YouTube or anything like that. I'm technologically declined. I do have Facebook. You can find me under my name, John Schaffner, on Facebook. Other than that, let's rock and roll this party, Charlie.
Alrighty then. Okay, I'm adjusting everybody's audio levels to make sure everybody can be heard. And if anybody's too loud, somebody let me know. I believe we had Hans for a second there.
Huh?
I thought we had Hans for a second there. I thought I saw him pop up on camera. He may be having technical difficulties. Laura has no mic or camera, and Sherry, I mean this with all respect. When not talking, is it okay if you mute your mic? It's kind of a good policy that way. Background noise for anybody doesn't mess up anything. And I'll just remind you to unmute your mic when I ask you something, or if you have a question or comment. And to do that, you go to the very top, a black bar will pop up, you just click on mute microphone. And that's not a dig on you in any way, shape, or form, it's just a good policy. Hans, well, looks like we have you up. Do you have a microphone, sir? I'm not hearing you, but I'm seeing you. If nothing else, if you can't get your mic to pop up, just type in the chat window. Thank you, Sherry. While you're working on that, well, let's go to Laura. Laura does not have a camera. Go to the chat section and find out.
That's actually Fred.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Laura is Fred. No confusion there. We have 5 viewers. I can't get the Q&A section to open. It says it's disabled, so try to go to the YouTube page and comment there since it's live. Hopefully it's up on the page and you can ask questions that way. Fred, I got to remember that. I'm going to keep forgetting. Fred, if you can tell us, well, Hans, since you were first, if you want to tell us, we can all see it, Hans. Where was I? Hans, if you want to tell everybody if you are a current scroll sawyer or just wanting to learn, or where they can find you, I will repeat it to everybody watching since you are unable to get it to work on screen. We do know Hans is in Mexico. Okay, he says he types slow, so give him a minute. I'm trying to multitask here. I apologize for my lack of professionalism. While Hans is typing, let's go over to Fred. Fred, if you want to tell people how to find you, and if you're a scroll sawyer or looking to learn scroll sawing, and where you're located, how people can find you on social media. And when both Fred and Hans post their information, I will relay that to the viewers. And while we're waiting on them to type, I'm going to go to Mark Christopher. Okay, just a second, Mark. Hans is an avid scroller. He does a piece a day, will cut any pattern, have been scrolling for over 50 years. Wow. Fred is in West Bend, Wisconsin. You can find Hans Bierman on Facebook. Hans' last name is spelled Bierman. His first name is spelled Hans. And I'm sorry, Mark, you may now can introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, I'm Mark Christopher. I'm from St. John's, Newfoundland. I live in just outside Halifax, Nova Scotia, in Canada. I'm primarily a whirligig and pen maker. I've been scrolling for a couple of years. I do some fretwork, Christmas presents, or Christmas ornaments, Victorian style. I classify myself as probably a little bit more than a beginner, but there's an awful lot that I don't know, and I'm hoping to learn lots from people with lots of experience. And I'm very pleased to be part of your first show, Charles.
I appreciate that. I'm honored to have you here. You've been a good friend for a good long time, so is Sherry. John Schaffner's the latest good friend, and we just had, I couldn't remember the last name, but Paul just joined us. Paul, if you'd like to tell people whether or not you scroll, or if you're here to learn, or if you do scroll, how long you've been doing it. If you have a mic. And for those that don't know, Laura is actually a guy named Fred. Fred started scrolling 1 year ago, and you can find him on Facebook. I assume under Fred Meyer, or maybe under his wife's Laura Meyer account. I don't know, but Paul, are you able to?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just getting started with scrolling. I wasn't going to participate. I was just going to watch you guys and listen.
Okay, well, if you have any questions, feel free. That's part of the participation.
Cool.
Okay, I believe that's all the introductions, and I hope I covered everybody in the chat area, and I apologize again for the Q&A section not being open. I don't know why. It worked on the initial run, so if my wife is able to find in the comments section of where it's being shown live, y'all can ask questions there. But while we're on the panel, does anybody have any scroll saw related questions? Myself and Sherry and Hans can probably answer. One of us or all of us can answer the questions you may have.
They'll get a variety of answers because we all have different ways of doing things.
Say that again, Sherry, I'm sorry?
They will get a variety of answers because we all do things a different way.
Yeah, that's definitely a benefit. I'm a spiral blade only user, and I believe you stick to flat blades, correct?
Right. I don't like spiral blades. I hate them.
Yeah, I've never touched a flat blade. I would be like a beginner if I ever touched one. So you'll be able to help on the flat blade angle, and I can sort of do what I can do on the spiral blade. Does anybody have any questions for either one of us, or are we just going to wing this whole thing? Okay, we got crickets. Okay, so. Okay, another spiral blade user. I'm sorry, Hans Bierman says, another spiral blade user. I thought I was the only one. No, Hans, I've been doing it from day one. I've been scrolling since 1997. And Sherry says we're on the dark side. we're the proud few. But I guess what I'm gonna do. Okay, is there any questions?
No, not yet.
Okay.
It's all been about technical things.
Crap. Okay.
Yes.
If you're able to help him, please do so. I don't know, or just let me know what the questions are.
I'm running very slow, so
Okay. Somebody is asking why they still can't see any chat box.
Jerry took care of that though.
Jerry did.
Jerry Brown. There's a small bar on the left.
But I think you have to be in the on-air chat for that chat box to show up. So T. Dunford 1, where you're at right now is the best way to ask your questions, and we'll just read them out on the air. And folks, I apologize for this. It's because of that Q&A being disabled. And T. Dunford wants to know if they need an invite first in order to see everything. Let me go back to those. Do you know how to get back to those 2 links to post to that person?
My laptop's running really slow.
Okay, I'm very sorry for the dead air. I'm trying to help people that are new to this as well. In order to get, only way I know, I don't know how to.
You run the.
Okay.
You run that. I'll worry about the.
Thank God for having a wife. She keeps me in line.
That's right, Charlie.
My God, Sherry's a little sassy, but she's a sweetheart. You know, I want people to know.
You good?
She is. Does anybody have any questions whatsoever regarding scroll sawing, designing, anything? I mean, just.
Mark does.
Yeah, I got a question. When it comes to compound scrolling, like I've been trying to do some ornaments, and I've found that maple is just way too hard to do. What would you recommend for somebody who's just starting out doing compound scrolling? What type of wood would be the best?
I've done very, very limited compound scrolling. So
A softwood, like poplar or pine. I know. Was telling me about that. Poplar is good. Pine is good. Any softwood.
yeah, I was going to say any softwood, but to me that made too much sense, and I knew they would have probably a better. Diana Thompson is a very good designer of compound cut patterns, and in the interest of including the people in the chat, cedar and pine are best according to Hans Bierman.
I see.
Laura Meyer.
I was wondering about cedar. Aside from it smells nice.
Yeah, and I know you can read the chat, but for the viewers, I'm reading their answers over there too, in case they want to know the same thing. Laura Meyer wants to know what do you use to finish. I personally use depth spray gloss. John and Sherry and Hans, what do y'all use? I'll get to you, Gary. With
I also use spray gloss.
depth spray gloss. Okay.
Yeah, me too. I use like Minwax, spray lacquer, or depth, or even Home Depot stuff. You know, it's a lot easier than trying to have a water-based polyurethane or even an oil-based polyurethane. It takes a daggone long to dry. So lacquer's my finishing choice.
Okay. Just some volumes here, and then
I
I'll.
suggest when you do. Hello. When
I can.
do your finishing on the Baltic Supply. Hello. When you do your finish, do a couple coats at a time and use a paper bag for sanding because that'll make it really smooth and it'll make it whatever you want your finish to look like, matte, glossy, whatever. I always use a paper bag, and it was just last year when I learned how to do that.
Now, Sherry, if you see me turning my head, it's because I'm multitasking to get all the questions in. I'm not ignoring you, I promise.
It's okay.
I noticed you kept saying hello. I didn't know if it was directed at me or not.
No, I'm trying to read and I'm trying to answer.
Okay, I'll be right with you, darling. Isn't red cedar really soft, Hans? Okay, Gary Gilbert has a question for us. feel free to ask that question now, Gary, and then I'll go in order of what I see in the chat section.
Okay, I didn't want to just jump in. You already got enough chaos going on, and I've got it going on here in the background. No, I don't have a scroll saw, but I've been looking at a couple of models, even some used ones and everything like that. For even like an entry level, very basic, do you think you can get away with using something as cheap as, like, just say a Harbor Freight model if you use something like Flying Dutchman blades and all the other stuff, or just save up and buy like a Craftsman or a higher quality version?
Well, I'll let Sherry answer after I do and Hans and John as well. What kind of saw really depends on how often you would use it. If you used it every day, you would want an industrial strength one. And my opinion, the top two are Excalibur and Hegner, and those can be over $1,000 depending on the size. But your beginner saws, I guess, would be Dremel, or and that might have changed since I last had one. Ryobi has one. Rigid, I believe, might. I don't know. DeWalt is the most common that I'm aware of. DeWalt and Delta has a very comparable model that are very, very standard, middle of the line price-wise saws. And I'll let Sherry address her opinion.
A beginner scroll saw to me would be the Dremel. That is how I started 10 years ago, was on a Dremel. I don't know much about the other brands like Craftsman, because I've always had a Dremel, and the saw I use right now is a Shopsmith, one that nobody ever hardly hears of. But your DeWalt D788 is your in-between price range and the one that everybody uses. In fact, I used one last year in New York for the first time, and I actually like how it does. If you want a higher end scroll saw, go with the Excalibur.
Absolutely. DW788 is most definitely one of the most popular everyday use saws. When I say high end, it's because they last. I don't know about DeWalt's. I've had my Hegner, which is distributed through advmachinery.com. I've had mine for between 14 and 16 years, so they hold up for a long time. And I know Excalibur has very large models up to 30-inch throat. And I believe Excalibur and Hegner are the top two when it comes to higher-end saws. But I have a question coming from the YouTube side, and if anybody else wants to answer that last question, I'll let you. But in order of fairness, Carl Becker wants to know, when coming to an inside corner, do you make it in one shot, or do you back up and cut a bigger section and change it? I can only answer with a spiral blade. I go in one direction and then just cut the corner. But Sherry, you use flat blades, and Hans, you use I don't know what. And John,
well,
all three of y'all.
I'd like to jump in and answer, reply to Gary's question about the entry level saws. Now, back in like 86 or 7, when I first started scrolling, I started out with a Dremel Motoshop. Took a 3-inch pinned end blade. Basically, it was okay for basic saw. Then I went through a couple of Craftsmans. Then I went to a 2-speed Delta 16-inch. Then a variable speed Delta 16-inch. And my latest acquisition was the DeWalt 788. I paid about $500 for it with shipping from Grizzly. I think I've had it 8 or 9 years now. Still going strong. I love it. It's got easy blade changes. It's no vibration or little vibration. It's a good middle of the road saw. And then getting back on the other question that just came in on the YouTube, as far as using flat blades coming to a corner, depending on the blade. I mean, if you're using a flat blade, you can, depending on the size of the blade, you can spin it onto itself using the back of the blade as a pivot, or you can cut a relief cut in the corner and spin it that way. I have a tendency to just spin it.
Yeah, I've seen people. I'm definitely not a pro at all when it comes to flat blades. I'm just going in there by what I've seen on videos. I've seen people go to the corner they'll come back and then they'll round out and come back to that line, and they just keep, cutting away at it. But there again, Sherry, Hans, and John are probably much better with flat blades than I am, so I'm going to take it back to Sherry if he wants to add anything.
The only way I would be able to explain doing a corner was I would have to show you, because it's hard for me to explain. I go to that corner, and then I back up. I leave a little spot there, and I finish out cutting where I'm cutting. Then I'll go back around and cut down back to that corner, and it makes a nice sharp corner. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I do. It's up to Carl whether or not he feels like he understands. If not, he can ask it. Hans Spearman in the chat section is saying no flat blades, Charles. Are you saying no, you don't use flat blades, or yes, you do? No, wait, you told me earlier you use spirals. I may be getting everybody mixed up. Okay, he never uses flat, so he's like me. So Sherry, you're on your own. Okay, Sherry showing us a diagram. Hopefully Carl Becker can see that. And you wanna re-say what you just said while you're holding that up, so maybe it'll help some people that didn't catch it the first time.
All right, let me try to explain this. This arrow right here, that's where I go into my corner, right up that way. And then I'll just like flip around and keep going the way I need to go, and then I'll pop that piece out, and then I'll go back and I cut that piece out right there.
Okay, I'm definitely a visual person, so that kind of stuff helps me. I'm still scared of flat blades. It's funny because so many people are scared of spirals. They say they're so aggressive, but it's so second nature for me that I'm afraid to try flat blades. Do we have any more questions going on?
That's fine.
Okay, no more questions there. Okay, I'm going to go down the line and say, do you have when it comes to a specific scroll saw you want, or are you content with what you have, or do you have a goal into making it into a business? I mean, I guess that's a two-part question. And since Sherry spoke last, I'm going to go with John Scheffner, and then Hans, and then we'll go with Sherry and see. I mean, are you content with what you have, or do you want to upgrade at some point?
I'm happy with my DeWalt. I've gone through several scroll saws over the years, and my DeWalt is the one I've always really kind of shot to. It's like I said, it's a good middle-of-the-road saw. I can't afford a Hagner, can't afford an Excalibur or RBI Hawk or anything like that. So, and as far as going to business, I do sell a few things on Etsy. I used to do craft shows all the time, but I'm getting too old, fat, and lazy to do that anymore. So Etsy is my venue to sell anything other than, word of mouth around town. So I'll never get rich doing it. It's more of a hobby. I enjoy it. If it turns into work, then I'll have to stop doing it too. I enjoy it too much.
Yeah, I think sometimes even when you love doing what you're doing, it can turn into work, because at least in my case, I'm so used to cutting as a passion, and so that's why I have pieces laying all over the house. And I know my wife appreciates that. The attic is full. Even our bedroom has a bunch leaning against the wall. So I can understand not wanting to make a business out of it. I think very few people can make a business out of it. I think there's a couple names out there, but I'll leave that for future shows. I'm going to go with Hans if he can still hear us. Maybe time for commercial? Huh? I don't know what that means, Hans, but do you?
No commercial breaks here. Come on now.
We don't have no commercials, by God. Well, if I had sponsors, I could throw a commercial in here. This is brought to you by my wife, Karen. Okay, so I don't know what that meant, but it was an attempt at humor that I bombed. Sherry, do you have a saw you would like to work up to, and are you trying to make a business out of what you do? No, forget to unmute yourself. There you go.
What was the question again?
All right.
I'm hearing.
That's okay. I'm the same way. Do you have a scroll saw you're wanting to upgrade to at some point, or are you content with what you have? And are you in any way wanting to make what you do a business?
Mine is actually a business, and I stay busy year-round at, and a lot of it last year was portraits, designing portraits, cutting portraits. I would like an Excalibur one day, but the benefit to that is the head tilts and not the table. That's why I want that. But I saw it on the wall at the New York show, and I'll take it. Right
Yeah.
now, I have a shop sprint, and I have put her to heck for the last 8 years, and she can run 24/7 if I let her. I found out my Dremel that my sister uses, I cut the motor out after 5 hours. That's cutting. But mine is a business. I do pretty good at it. I stay busy. It's, I love it. I also love my horses, so trying to make time to do both is near impossible.
Yeah, that's why I try to. I need to make more time for my wife because I'm addicted to scrolling and pattern designing, and
You can.
and basically. God, I forgot what my next question was. Okay, Hans responded in the chat section. He said, it's been a hobby for me forever, no intentions to make it a business nor to upgrade my DW788. Okay, now going back to I was saying, it really all depends on, this is just my opinion, it depends on how often you plan to use it, because I had the worst, and I'm sorry if any representatives are watching, which I seriously doubt, the worst bottom of the line scroll saw I ever had was a Ryobi. The upper arm snapped off. It just snapped. And I'm thinking, you know, there's a lot of, the cheapest scroll saws, with scroll saws you basically get what you pay for, but you got a good value with a DW788 by DeWalt. That's definitely a good middle of the road saw. Wow. No more questions?
You can, every once in a while, at least around here, you can find a DeWalt on Craigslist for like $300, $250, $300. Guy here had a Type 1, which is the one that was made in Canada. I have a Type 2 that was made in China. But everybody lows for the Type 1, you know, Canadian made, overseas, no. But I haven't had any problems with mine.
That's good. Laura is actually Fred. Fred, do you have any input on what has been talked about? I apologize for not coming to you. I'm used to coming to people that I see moving on the screen. I apologize. Do you have what saw do you have? Do you want to upgrade? And do you want to turn it into a business? While we're waiting on Laura's answer, I would love to make mine a business, and I've tried. It just, I got no excuse. Shyness, agoraphobia, and not having a website yet. I do all mine through Facebook, but my sales are slow and few and far between, but I cherish them when I get them. But I think Mark Christopher does do scroll sawing, but I'll let him tell you what he prefers to do when it comes to scroll sawing, and I apologize for not getting to you sooner, Mark.
No apology necessary, Charles. Like I said, I do Victorian scroll saw ornaments, and matter of fact, I think the pattern came from Diana Thompson. My sister had given me one of her books several years ago, and it was, I was all gung-ho with it. I started out, I had a DeWalt, I had a Delta that just vibrated all over the place, and I was really frustrated doing it. And then I was actually at a tool show, and I bought a DeWalt 788 after I had tried it, and I couldn't believe how much smoother and how much enjoyment I got from it. I'm quite happy with that. I don't sell any of the scroll saw stuff that I do. I usually give them out as Christmas presents. last year, I gave everyone in my family, my wife Gail's family, I gave them an ornament for Christmas, and that's what I'm working on right now. You know, and I'm trying to figure out the compound sawing. I had done I did a couple, and it was kind of magical looking at somebody's face when you take the entire block and then just kind of, you know, unfurl it, and I had a tulip that had come out of it, and that was like the first one that I had done, and I couldn't remember what type of wood I had used. I assumed something like pine would be good, but I didn't have any thick stock pine kicking around, so that's why I had a piece of maple there, and I was trying it on that, and that was why my question was there earlier. So I guess I'm going to pick up some 2x2s or something and try and get a little bit more proficient with it. But for selling, no, I'm not really going down that road. I sell my pens and our whirligigs, but I'm quite happy with the 788 there right now.
That's awesome. In order to be fair, to go back to now, I'm gonna keep referring to the cat picture you see. Is the name Laura shows up, but it is Fred. I'm gonna keep saying that so nobody gets confused. It's more of a hobby for Fred, and he makes gifts for family and friends. I believe we have a YouTube question. Who uses a foot switch? Angela at Scrollin would like to know who uses a foot switch on their scroll saw, and do you find it useful? I used a foot switch once, and that's only because anybody that doesn't know, I do very, very, very large projects. I was working on a 5-foot wide piece, and I couldn't access the switch to turn it on, so I got me a foot switch so I could do that, still have my hand on the piece. But I can before I let anybody else answer, Julian, do you have, thank you for just joining us, do you have a cam and or mic? If not, go into the left column and a little toolbar will pop out, click on the top icon, and there's a chat section. You can let us know anything there.
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Then I have a microphone.
Oh, okay, you have a picture too. That's good, good. Okay, you want to tell us about you, how we can find you, whether or not you're a scroll sawyer or wanting to learn, or what the story is?
I'm always wanting to learn. I mean, that's how I know the things that I know, because other people have been willing to share their information. I'm a woodworker, a lifelong hobbyist, and at one point I made it my career, but I still have the love of woodworking. I've come to scroll saw recently, and I've come to love it in a real short amount of time. I just have a natural affinity to it. It's one of the few power tools that you can actually sit down while you're working, and I like that aspect. And I get into the zone. One reason why I picked up on your videos was I'm wanting to learn how to use spirals, and I guess a search on YouTube, one thing led to another. So that's one of the things. But you know, I'm just interested in anybody who shares the same passion as me about scroll saw.
Yeah, passion is most definitely a good word for it. I think, and I think all of us on the panel will agree with this, whether woodworking in general or scroll sawing or even designing, I feel safe in assuming we can all think it's therapeutic. And I will go down the line and see if anybody agrees with that or what opinion they have on it. And I'll go to Sherry first, and she's first on my screen. Sherry, do you feel it's therapeutic, or is it just a straight passion?
Do what now?
Do you feel that scrolling and designing is a passion for you, or therapeutic, or both?
It's both, and it's also the only time I can crank up the music that I love to listen to.
Yeah, gotta have those tunes going. Okay, I don't want to leave Gary out, but he doesn't scroll yet. So, but I know. I don't know what to do, Gary. I'm sorry.
No, actually, You're over here doing that. I'm over here in SketchUp adding onto that giant table saw bench and throwing a scroll saw table built into it now, and everything else as I'm sitting here listening to y'all. So I'm taking part from what y'all are. I'm actually more or less learning from everything else. I can only offer like what I did the other night as far as design aspects, faster way of making your graphics or your templates that you use, and how to, I guess, effectively get from point A to point B faster.
Yeah.
That's my main goal. I'm more of a designer that likes to work with his hands, but unfortunately, I haven't always been able to get a chance to do it under contracts and everything else. So things are going to change very soon.
Yeah, down the road when we get into topic specific on designing, I'd like to have Gary on the show as far as methods. I don't know that he's ever entered into scroll saw patterns per se, but this guy knows 3D programs. He just knows all kinds of things. And in the interest of going down the line, I have a YouTube question. Jerry Brown, good friend of mine, lives down the road. What kind of wood is good for doing names scrolled out and connected by puzzle pieces? Also, would 3/4 be too thin to make something like that look good? I consider 3/4 thick, but let me go back over the question for anybody that may not have heard that. What kind of wood is good for doing names scrolled out and connected by puzzle pieces?
I'd go with walnut myself.
Walnut?
Walnut or cherry, oak, red oak, not white oak. White oak I think is way too hard, but it's kind of brittle. But I like walnut and cherry for doing like name plaques and anything to do with lettering.
Okay, I personally, I love aromatic cedar. I know there's a more technical name for it, but that's my favorite wood to make things out of. But most commonly I'll do pine because it's more readily available. And I will go down the line. Hans Bierman says, I've taken therapy, it made it worse. And Laura Meyer, meaning Fred, says, I like that I can get my 8-year-old grandson to try it also. And I love that about scrolling because it's a kid-friendly tool by all accounts. It is an addiction. What was I going to ask Sherry about the question that Jerry gave? Jerry, one wood is good for doing names and scrolled out and connected by puzzle pieces. And do you consider 3/4 inch wood to make something like that look good?
Is 3/4 inch wood too thin, you think?
Too thin? According to Jerry Brown, wants to know if that's too thin, Sherry. Sherry, are you with me? There you go. Jerry wanted to know what kind of wood is good for doing names and scrolled out connected puzzle pieces, and also would 3/4 inch be too thin to make something like that look good?
I've not done too much of puzzles, but 3/4 inch would be fine. And that, or 1/2 inch, or 3/8. And if you want to make a stand-up puzzle, 1/2 inch would be best.
Okay.
I haven't done too many of that, so I really can't answer that.
Yeah, I've done 1/2 inch pine and 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is what I've usually gone with names to make them stand up and stick out from a wall, depending on how people want to use it. John, have you ever done any names?
Yeah, a few. I would use 3/4. I mean, if it's gonna be standalone,
Yeah.
3/4, 1/2 inch. But anything if you're gonna mount it to a base or anything like that, just about anything. I mean, I've even gone so far as use 1/4 inch and run a curve slot down the base and glue it into the curve slot. So it's a matter of whatever your personal preference is going to be.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, it's trial and error. Hans is saying that He names and finds 3/4 very nice and stable, so that should help you, Jerry. Julian, do you have a go-to wood and thickness when it comes to stuff like names? Can you hear me, Julian?
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that question?
Do you have a go-to wood and wood thickness when it comes to things like scrolling out a person's name?
Yes. You know, my thing is, it's difficult to work in thick woods. So the thicker I go, the softer I have to go. So if I have access to a real soft, say, 1.5 inch thick redwood that's pretty clear grain and is soft, then I'll use that because I like the effect that the thicker board gives to the 3D aspect. It also is more stable, you know, if it's not on a stand, if it stands alone. But I agree, there's really no right wood. I think one of the considerations is whether you're going to use a solid wood or a plywood.
Absolutely.
You know, the plywood has the benefits. You know, something I recently found out, I didn't know this, I was kind of surprised, that plywood was actually invented for the use of scroll saw. Around the turn of the last century, they devised, and then it became popular for other uses. So plywood really lends itself to strength, giving strength when you're working across the grain in wood. So I don't know. I just think it's what you have available, and then just design it according to the thickness and the kind of wood that you have.
Absolutely, yeah. I think for all of us, it's either a trial and error or it's a preference thing. Mark, have you ever tried doing names out of wood on a scroll saw?
No, haven't tried it, and like I said, I'm still trying to figure out thicknesses. What I want to do is I need to do 2 chess sets for both of our boys. I wanted to do compound sawing and make the chess pieces out of it. So I guess as Julian was just saying, there, you know, the thicker the wood, I guess, you know, you're going to have to go down in softness. So I was hoping to do to use maple, but as I'm slowly finding out, that may not be the best choice for us.
I think it depends on your patience level. With me using spirals, I think that may actually cut slower than flat blades when it comes to compound cuts. But
I found that the other day. I actually broke one of the blades, and I went looking in my little Pringles container for all my spiral blades, and I think my cats made off with them. I tend to blame them for anything that goes missing in the shop. And I actually had to flip back to a flat blade, and I noticed that it did seem to cut a little bit smoother, I guess. But then that one broke, and then I had another one. I went through like 3 flat blades, and I think maybe it was because I've been using spirals for most of my time on the scroll saw that I'm not gentle enough, maybe, with the flat blades.
yeah, I think there's another trial and error thing. The Laura, aka Fred, says cats will do that, and it's ironic you mentioned Pringles cans because I used to store my used blades in Pringles cans as a emergency backup if I didn't have the money to buy new ones. And Sherry commented, "No, Charlie," when it came to whether or not flat blades were easier for the.
I don't use spiral blades, but I know somebody that did, and at one of the scroll meetings I went to, he did a compound cut with spiral blades, and they were Flying Dutchman blades. And he said he did it quick. It was smooth. He liked it. It was like 1 inch thick, maybe.
Wow.
That was what he told me.
So, guys, sorry to interrupt, but here's an example of something that I did recently using 1.5 inch thick redwood. It's a 3D. I first drilled the hole in the center for the test tube, the glass test tube. It's a flower stem holder to hold the rose or whatever, and then just a simple design that I made of some what we call bulrushes. I don't know what you guys call that kind of plant that grows in water.
Cattails.
Yes, cattails, exactly right. So that's one. And this was my second project. I first did a project that I downloaded online to learn how to do the 3D cuts. And so this is a standard one that people use to learn how to do 3D cuts. I didn't try it with spirals. I want to work my way up to working with spirals. I do kind of think that you can actually learn how to use both efficiently. And I did notice that when you were cutting, you were going a little slower, and that's something that I want to learn how to do. I think I need to have more patience with my cutting instead of pushing things through. Just let it cut nice and slowly and take my time. So that's one thing that I did pick up from you.
I appreciate that. I'm definitely not the only one that has advice out there, but you did a great job on both of those compound things. Was that a Steve Good from his?
Yes, yes. The I Love You was a Steve Good. I just wanted to learn the technique on how to do it. And then the second one here, I designed from scratch. You know, I wasn't sure if it was going to work.
Very nice.
You don't know until you try it. One nice thing about 4 sides is you only have to get 2 of them right.
Yeah. Okay. And when you mentioned Steve Good, he's somebody I pray that I can eventually get him on the show. To me, that guy is a godsend when it comes to the girl sawing community. He has done so much. But and moving on, in fairness, Gary Gilbert wanted to know the thoughts on the Flying Dutchman's blades, and he says he has he found a 16-inch Craftsman on Craigslist for $50. That's a heck of a deal. Flying Dutchman is my go-to blade because I'm loyal once I find a product I like. Some people will tell you Olson or Pegasus. And wow, Tom Priest joined us. I haven't ever gotten to talk to him. I'll get to you in a second. But yeah, the heck was I talking about? Flying Dutchman blades. I love Flying Dutchman blades, and I think they are extremely popular. Anybody interested in purchasing those, go to mikesworkshop.com. His email address is mike@mikesworkshop.com, but he answers questions. He has good deals. He has a whole slew. The only thing he does not carry is pin-in blades. For the interest of getting everybody fit in, I have to go in order, Tom, so I'll be right with you. Tom, if you don't mind, can you mute your mic just for a moment? Nothing personal. It's just avoid background noise. Ma joined us, and I don't know if Ma has a camera or a mic, but if you do not, go to the left side of the and black marble comes out.
Sorry, you gotta move, please.
Just a sec. Okay. Thank you. Now, Tom, that was not personal. It's just to avoid background noise. Whenever I come to you, please unmute yourself, and by doing that, you can go to the very top, and it'll show a picture of a microphone, and you just click on that to unmute yourself. But I'm trying to figure out if Ma has a camera or mic. If not, try the chat section, which is the very top icon. When you slide your cursor all the way to the left, it'll be a blue box with white lines in it. Click there and try to type. Sherry Epler says she started out with Olson's but found that Flying Dutchman cut much better and left less fuzzies. And for people that don't know what fuzzies are, it's the little, I don't want to call them splinters, it's just what spiral blades do and some flat blades do. It leaves it's fuzzy wood fibers on the bottom side of your piece.
I did a comparison with Olson and Flying Dutchman when I got my Flying Dutchman blades. I've got a picture posted somewhere, and I'll have to show you on the difference between the Olson and the Flying Dutchman on how fuzzy, on the fuzziness on it, and it's on a piece of poplar, which is soft wood, which will leave a lot of fuzzies with regular reverse blade, which is what I use. I always use a reverse blade on everything I do. Even if it's stick wood, I use the number 3 ultra reverse.
Ultra reverse means it has teeth cutting in both directions, correct?
That's right, because I've got a table on my scroll saw because I do such fine fretwork. I need that every 3rd blade, and if I use a regular reverse blade, those reverse blades on the bottom will not come up. It won't reach to do the work.
Okay, and for folks that don't know, when I say cuts in both directions, I don't mean like a spiral in circles. It cuts on the upstroke and the downstroke. But I don't want to leave Tom Priest out. Tom, whenever you go to respond, you're not at your camera, so if you can hear me, Tom. Oh, there you are, all dressed up for the show. Tom, if you can tell everybody how long you've been scrolling, your social media, how people can find you, and then maybe I can try to update on some of the other questions we've been asked. But while you're getting your microphone unmuted, Hans Bierman says he uses Flying Dutchman. So, Tom, don't forget to unmute yourself. Just move your cursor up to the top. There you go. And tell everybody about yourself.
I've been scroll sawing for about 5 years now. You know, I'm Facebook. I go Sugar Glider Wood Shop is my page, or Tom Priest. I'm doing a lot of sales. Use a lot of Chartles, wonderful patterns and stuff. So
awesome.
That's about
I don't know if I ever answered any of that stuff. Anybody that doesn't know, I have a YouTube channel called Charles Deering Scroll. That's the username. My Facebook is the Charles Deering because Charles Deering was taken. God, I have a Google Plus. I have all kinds of crap, but I'll post all that in the comments section. And we have 3 minutes and 35 seconds left in the show as far as keeping it under an hour, and that's a good practice. I'm going to run over. Mark says he has to run, which is good timing because we're about done. And anybody that's interested in woodworking in general, go over to the look up Maritime Woodworkers on Google+. They have a Google Hangout as well, just like this, but probably a little more organized. It's run by Jason again and Matt Brander, and they are a great couple of guys. And their spotlight guy is a guy named Izzy Swan, and this guy is the go-to guy, and he's one of the most creative people I've ever seen on earth. And I appreciate you being here, Mark.
It was a pleasure to be part of your first show.
Thank you, sir. Tom, I wish you'd gotten here sooner, but it's not to push you out, but you're welcome to come back next week as well as all of y'all. It will be a first come, first served. Sherry, I can't thank you enough for your participation because I know it kept coming to me and you for quite a bit. And Julian, it was great to have you, and I loved the projects you showed, and I hope that any of y'all that were having technical problems can hopefully have those fixed by next time. And Hans, I would love to see you next time. And I don't know why the Q&A section did not open up for me. It said it had been...
Jerry Brown said you have to enable it before you go live.
Oh, I did not know that. So, I hope you get to make the next one as well. I didn't know I had to enable Q&A before it went live. So, I learned something today. Okay, thank you for being here, Sherry, Gary, Hans, John, Laura/Fred, and hello, Tom's little kid, or grandson, I don't know. Ma, I don't know anything about you because we weren't able to hear from you. Tom Priest, it was good to finally see your face and hear your voice after all these years. This is my wife, Karen. I'm Charlie. Y'all scroll on, and we will see you next